TGR News, broadcasting from the State of Israel.
Welcome back to TGR News.
Shalom from Israel.
Well, we had another good week of giving out food. This week, if I told you my last 48-hour schedule, you wouldn't believe it. So I didn't have much time to do some videos like I did last week and week before to show you guys what good you are doing with the support you're giving to this food thing. And but we'll get back to it next week. Don't worry. It's just this week I didn't have no videos because I was just so crazy. I just came back from just last night at 1 o'clock in the morning from my thing. So yeah.
Well, I could tell you about it, but I'll just let him next week, I guess.
Yeah. But
it was very, very trying days for him. Yeah.
Yep. But we got it all done, and people got the food, and it's all because of you guys. Thank you very much.
And the IDF is happy.
And the IDF is happy. Yeah, I also had the Army involved there, too. Yep. Well, you're not going to believe what I'm going to say.
Oh, no, you're right. I probably won't.
Got a lot to talk about.
I bet he's going to talk about Bennett. I bet it's going to be, just like everyone in America is talking about Biden, here we talk about Bennett.
Yeah. Well, Bennett just had his visit at the White House, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And when he came back, he made it look like this huge success with the appearance that the White House has a big friend, a friend of Israel there now, you know. And, well, it's going to, like they were going to help us with their threats against Iran and everything while they're making all the sanctions for nuclear, you know. It's ridiculous.
It's hard for anyone that has any sanity left to understand anything that's happening today, politically, around the world, with the weather, or anything else. Everything is upside down.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, while he was gone, Hamas is really tensioning up the pressure on the border there, trying to pressure Israel and Egypt into getting more money from Qatar. You know, it's just a never-ending thing. No matter what you give them, they want more. It's just...
You know what is ironic? I've always thought it was ironic anyway, is that the decent people of the world support the terrorists and don't even know it.
Yep.
And they don't know it. Here's what I'm trying to say. I realized this back in the days of Yasser Arafat, that if he couldn't afford to have anything called peace, because that would stop all the money coming in for his freedom fighters.
Exactly.
We call them terrorists, but they call them freedom fighters. So it's an interesting conception.
Yeah, what you're talking about, I have it here on the list. We'll go ahead and talk about it. Trump, he had stopped giving money to the Arabs in Israel. They call them the Palestinians, but it's just the Arabs and that because of their. He had a whole list of things why the money stopped, and if they would stop it, then he would start giving them money back. But out goes Trump, in comes Biden. One of the things on that list of things, the reason why tax-paying Americans stopped paying Arabs, the Palestinians here, is because of all the violence and the terrorism and everything. But on the list was specifically all the propaganda that's in the schools that the Arabs choose to teach their kids about the Jews, how bad we are, what were they going to do to us after what they're going to do to the Jews after our blood makes the sea go red and stuff like that. And so Biden, with the American tax-paying dollars, had just recently started giving them back money, over $130 million. And the only thing he did, out of all the list of things that Trump told them they got to stop doing, was he signed them on this propaganda thing in schools to just sign this and say, you'll stop doing it, and I'll give you the money. So he gave them the money. Guess what? Yesterday, their school year started up, and on the news, it was already shown that they still have the same books with all the propaganda about how the Jews are bad, and what they're going to do to the Jews, and everything else.
They even go in detail with these kids, telling them how's the best way to kill a Jew.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, and they put it on their TV. They're not hiding it from their own people, but they realize the rest of the world's not watching their news in Arabic, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really sad situation. It's another one of those things. If you're anywhere near my age, you can't understand how this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you look at these two world leaders who Joe was just talking about, Biden and Bennett sitting at the White House together. Take a good look at those two.
Yeah.
That's what's leading the world today, folks.
Yep.
I could get derogatory and all sorts of statements here, but I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, it's probably best.
But just take a look at those two, and then you can't blame them because they didn't get there by themselves. They got there by the vote of the people. You know, I've heard it said, and I don't know whose great quote it is, but we all end up getting the leadership that we deserve.
Yeah. Well, last week we talked about the IDF soldier that was shot on the border. This Monday, he in the hospital. He died, and at his funeral were thousands of people, and they were chanting, "Bennett the traitor."
It's sad. It really is sad because well, I know my Bible tells me that we need to support and pray for our leaders, right?
Yeah.
But you got to know when your leaders are leading you in the wrong direction too.
Right. Yeah. Another thing is that Bennett stopped Benny Gantz, which is our defense minister, from making a speech of security and in the Knesset over Iran. Now we don't know what a speech was, but that doesn't sound like a democracy to me. Where a minister of defense is shut up by the prime minister, say no, you can't talk about that.
Yeah, and it's not just that with Gantz. That Gantz just had a secret meeting with Abbas, right, and the Palestinian Authority behind Bennett's back. So now the accusations are that Gantz is plotting a coup.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any truth in that, but it's all over the Israeli news.
Yeah, absolutely. This 1st of September, all the kids went back to school. That's 2.4 million kids here in Israel. 2.4 million kids, and they made them all take a corona test the first day of school.
Yeah. Oh boy, I tell you, this first day of school thing. I'm a grandpa, great grandpa too, but. Not just great, but a great. Well, just great enough. Right?
Great grandpa.
Yeah, great grandpa.
Yeah.
In other words, I have grandchildren who have given me children. Right?
Yeah, they have given children. Yeah.
So anyway, that's where it goes. Now I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, we're talking about kids in school. This Wednesday, they even made the teachers. This is the first time in Israel it's been that way, mandatory vaccination.
That's sad, and there's no democracy anymore. There's no freedom.
That's a strong turn right there.
Yeah, when they can tell you what kind of chemicals that they're going to put into your body, even most of them experimental. That's a problem. That's a real problem with your freedom, and it seems like everything we see happening with the news today is a stripping down of our Bill of Rights and our freedoms and our God-given rights.
Sort of mandatory as well is some of the schools did not open up because of Bennett's new law. If 70% of the kids in the school are not vaccinated, the school doesn't open up. Now that's not making you vaccinate your kid, but that's just a collective mandatory kind of thing. There's no school unless you guys go get vaccinated.
Yeah. This almost every one of these shows I talk about the parallel between America and Israel, what's going on with our leadership and everything else. And even this corona thing, I just read that some of these floods in New York and places, by the way, biblical proportional the floods are. No one's ever seen a flash flood in New York City before. But anyway, it's amazing what's happening there. But people was now trying to get back into their homes before the looters and everybody get in there. But they're finding out, this is in America now, you just talked about the schools and how you had to get into the schools. Now to get people to get back to their homes, they're stopped by FEMA. That's an organization in America that, I guess most of you know what FEMA is. Yeah. But anyway, they were forcing them to take a shot. They had people there with the coolers full of vaccines, and before they could get into their backs, some turned around and some had to make decisions in the opposite direction. But that's happening globally. Yeah. Something to seriously think about and more seriously pray about.
Back to Hamas. Hamas this week also stated that they're so happy because Israel is under a government that finally listens to strength. And what they mean is this is Hamas said straight out. They said, we shot a couple rockets at Israel, and then Israel let the money from Qatar come in, all that money come in. Then we killed a soldier, the one we just talked about, and right after that, Bennett opened up the borders for free passage for the people living in Gaza. It's like every time they do something to us, we give them something now. We're under Bennett's control. So they're real happy about it. Speaking out right about it. Another thing is Yair Lapid made a speech. And he basically just 100% endorsed Biden. He says this is about the Afghanistan thing. He said we should listen to Biden and not jump to conclusions. because in the long term, we'll see it was probably a good thing that Biden, the way Biden pulled out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, well, as far as Lapid, and of course, this is from the book about Jerry Golden. It's not the Bible or anything, right? But from my opinion, he's always been a liberal.
Yeah.
He should love Biden. Him and Biden are two peas in a pot.
Absolutely.
And he's got he's chomping at the bit for his time. Hopefully, if Bennett's government doesn't get crashed in the meantime. That when he will become the prime minister. And I don't think there'll be a happy person in Israel except a few way off in this left side of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Sad what's happening.
Well, that's about it for this week. Don't forget to join us on thegoldenreport.com, and we appreciate your support for the food and also what we've always been about, saving Jews from the European countries.
Let me say this in closing. We've spent a lot of time over the past few years preparing and getting ready to save Jewish lives out of Europe. And the Holocaust is already starting. As a matter of fact, it's worse now there than it was then. And we're really not ready with our boats. We need help. We've had this corona and a lot of stuff that really brought us down.
Okay, well, until next week, bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom.